Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. I was a little disappointed in the Wheezy hand job because
they cut the Wheezy hand job. They cut it.
They must have, yeah, because it's not the same take we see in the trailer.
No.
And there are hand jobs, and they are a little wheezy, but never do they reach the heights of wheeziness, the wheezy peaks that we were promised in the trailer for Deep Water.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Wheezy Hand Job.
Wheezy Hand Job, the movie. Not Deep Water.
Oh, yeah. So I think X is out. Turning Red was available, but I do think we made the right choice here.
I think we made the right choice, too. There's already plenty of discussion around Turning Red.
Yeah, and I'm sure I saw part of it, and it looked really good. X, I'm very excited for, but this is the more entertaining podcast.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think, for the record, Tom, maybe you disagree with me. I don't think our listener has to have seen this movie.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, okay.
In point of fact, I would come right out and say, don't watch this movie.
Well, okay. So this is this is the Ben Affleck handjob movie.
This is the Ben Affleck handjob movie. No, it's the Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas erotic thriller that was
directed by Adrian Lyne?
I think Adrian Lyne, yeah.
Lyne, who did Flashdance, Jacob's Ladder, Indecent Proposal, Fatal Attraction, Lolita. So this person is on some sort of list.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. This was filmed, I think, back right before the pandemic. And then, of course, Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas very famously spent the first year of the pandemic in quarantine together. And then in year 2, very famously, Casey Affleck was photographed throwing a life-size cardboard cutout of Ana de Armas in the dumpster out of Ben Affleck's house.
Wow, I did not know that.
You haven't seen that? It's a guy in a hoodie and a mask, but it's like 95%. You're like, that's Casey Affleck.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That is his brother helping him get rid of his ex's shit.
All right. I mean, I always assumed their relationship with Casey Affleck is like their relationship with Casey Affleck in Good Will Hunting, where he like masturbates into baseball mitts.
It's like
and
you don't
just treat him like trash.
Right. He's not the kind of brother you call for like Thanksgiving. He's the kind of brother you aim at things that you want dealt with.
Yeah, you buy him some Dunkin' Donuts and you have him throw out your trash for you.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's the crazy guy that everybody has in their Rolodex.
Right. Okay, yeah, and so this is the erotic thriller from the king of erotic thrillers.
Right, a pretty storied director of the genre.
Yeah. Which is weird.
Based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith, who is an accomplished and equally storied writer of thrillers. She wrote the Talented Mr. Ripley series, among others.
And you sound surprised, and I was too, because this movie sucks.
This movie sucks and is boring.
And, all right, well, here's what I'm going to say.
One quick thing, possibly the biggest strike of all, it is not sexy.
No, it's not sexy at all.
It's like they forgot. It's weirdly chaste, in fact.
Yeah. It's got some. It's got a
my
couple
point is,
naked scenes.
Very, very brief, and it's barely R-rated.
Yeah. It's
and that's a surprise for an erotic thriller.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. I enjoyed watching this film.
Oh yes,
but not because it's a good film.
No, in point of fact, it's very boring for long stretches of time.
70% of the film is Ben Affleck frowning while standing in a doorway or in the
Ben
window.
Affleck just glaring.
Yeah, it is. I laughed. There was halfway through this movie, I lost it. I started laughing because there's the point where it's after he kills like one of the lovers.
Is it after he kills Piano Man? Is it after he kills 88 Keys?
He drowns. After he drowns him, and then Ana de Armas is like, "You killed him, I know it." And you think like, "Oh, here we go." And then it's like hard cut to her meeting a new guy, like, "Hey!" And then hard cut to like Affleck watching and glaring. And it's like, "Oh, okay, so we're doing this all over again." Huh? Yep. And it was that's the movie. The movie is this woman like flirting and sleeping with young like himbos, Ben Affleck glaring from afar and then just murdering them, and then she moves on to the next one
after very just heel-clickingly delightful scenes of grizzled Ben Affleck intimidation. It's grizzled Ben Affleck bullying himbos for a lot of the movie, and that part is very entertaining.
It's extremely funny. And then the wildest thing is so I thought the twist at the end was going to be this is a racket. Like, this is what they do. But it doesn't appear to be. The ending is like her kind of like letting it go, but still being surprised by it.
I think I'd be very curious to read the book because I suspect the book is probably good or at least more successful in pulling off this premise. But
I heard the ending is different in the book.
That makes sense because it seems to be what the movie is kind of getting at is like this is their game, and it's like, and it seems to be that this is them discovering that this is their kink, basically. Like she learns without a doubt that Ben Affleck has been murdering her lovers, but she takes
his wallet for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason he feeds it to his snails. Yeah, which it's like, dude, this isn't Hannibal. Like, it's going to take those snails a super long time.
Right. She burns it because that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do. You don't put it in your snail terrarium like some fucking asshole. Like some fifth grader science project. What are you doing, Ben Affleck?
Why does he have snails?
We'll get to that. That's another whole thing that I can't wait to talk about. But yeah, it seems like the twist of this movie is kind of feels like it's supposed to be this is them discovering their kink together. Basically, it's like, she learns that he's murdering her lovers, and she's into it because their whole dynamic is sort of she treats him like cartoonishly like shit. Like she is a cartoonishly terrible person. Because
she's shitty to her kid. She's shitty to him.
She's shitty to everyone. She's a horrible mom. It's just like, okay. But like, the idea is that she's bored. She's one of those, like I think we've all met people that are, that she is obviously an exaggerated version of this personality type, but I think a lot of people have met this type of person where they just want to party all the time, and being settled down is boring to them. So she does this because married life and being a mom is boring to her, and she keeps teasing him by saying, "You would be bored if you weren't married to me," and that's probably true because he never divorces her. He wants to stay married to her, and he says it's because he loves her, but it's clearly not that. It's more of a possessive type thing. And then
they're both terrible people.
Oh yeah, they're both dog shit. I'm just saying, like, it's a slower burn for us to discover that Ben Affleck is a terrible guy. Because it's like 70% of the movie is Ana de Armas.
It is and it isn't. Because Ben Affleck practically, in the first like 10 minutes, he practically looks at the camera and goes, "I kill people."
Yeah, I killed this guy. But like, it's a little unclear at first because he claims that he did it and then he walks it back, and then he claims that he did it again in a specific way. But then in the next scene, they find the guy's body and he wasn't killed with a hammer. He was shot to death. So you're like, he might just be lying.
Right, and then, they plant that doubt, but before it can lead to anything, he then immediately drowns a man in a pool.
Yeah.
And they show it pretty quickly.
More or
and
less,
then it's
they show
okay,
it.
So he's killing these people.
They do show it in a way that it's unclear if he's imagining himself having done it.
Well, that was so. I was waiting for a twist.
Yeah.
And I thought the twist was like, oh, she's killing them.
Right.
And he's like covering up for her or something.
Something like or I thought the reveal was going to be that this is their game all along. Like involving their friends in it and her having that very public outburst in front of the police, by the way, who do very little about that accusation.
Yeah. They're just like women.
Like straight up, like the two detectives are coming to their house after this dude's drowned in their pool, and the guy's wife right there is saying he fucking killed him. I know he did. Like, I feel like they would take that a little more seriously than they do.
There's a few.
We kind of don't see the cops again after that.
No, they just fuck up. I thought the cops were following him, but it turns out to be a private detective hired by the dude who keeps walking in on Ben Affleck murders.
Yeah. That's just his curse.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's several moments of this where I was like, was this a comedy?
Is this a comedy?
Point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, my point is, I thought the reveal was going to be that they were both running a game the whole time. It's just the game they play together.
Right.
Yeah. But it's more like this is them discovering that this is their game.
Yes. This is them learning their kink.
Mm-hmm. Which is it's a honeypot that she lures people in, and then Ben Affleck just murders the shit out of
these
them.
Poor innocent himbos who just want to nail Ben Affleck's wife.
Right, who just want to fuck Ben Affleck's wife in their house in front of him.
Yeah, and she presents it like, oh, no, he's into it.
Even so, I kept thinking that throughout the movie, even so, if you were dating some woman and she's like, I'm married, but my husband's cool with it, we're going to go over to our house and just basically just fuck right in front of him and all of our friends. And you're like, okay, that sounds cool. All right, man, come on.
Well, they're himbos.
I know,
himbos.
but
can't be
you
helped.
have to be the himboist himbo.
Well, and
to be
also
this is pretty sweet.
And then the husband is a grizzled Ben Affleck, stoically standing there holding a scotch.
Just glaring at you like a fucking sphinx.
Yeah, where you're like, okay, so this is part one of the process, isn't it?
You're not
walk telling
into
me
that.
About process, part two.
Right. You would walk into that situation, see him for 2 seconds and be like, oh, I'm going to get murdered. I need to leave.
It's amazing. Amazing film.
At no point in this film does Ben Affleck look like he hasn't murdered people.
No, he's really giving it that
He's
vibe.
walking around with a big old stormy cloud of murder hanging over his head.
Holy shit.
He looks like he's killed many men with his bare hands.
Yeah, he really does. So yeah, that's basically, so the first part of this film is literally like a series of sketches where she has a guy, there's three himbos. There's the first one, there's the unseen one that Ben Affleck's like, yeah, I killed that guy. And he's saying it to the new himbo.
The new guy, Joel, I want to say, you say the first part of this movie, it's the first hour of this movie. Nothing, the conflict of the film anyway does not occur until the first hour mark. It's wild. Well,
yeah. So it's Ben Affleck walking around being like, yeah, I totally killed that guy. Everybody, his friends, his daughter is like, I heard you killed that guy.
That's later. She thinks that's after the piano guy.
Right. And so the first himbo gets away with his life.
Right. That's the luckiest himbo. It still takes him way too long, but he does eventually. And actually, he doesn't even do it. It's Affleck who calls him an Uber and gets him out of there. So it's
Uber is like, bro, I like you. I don't want to have to drown you. So,
right, it's
get out
you're
of
getting,
here.
it's like, buddy,
kill you.
You're getting a chance that the other himbos did not receive.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, he tells this guy to his face, I killed the other guy, and then the body is found, and like you said, the body was shot where he said, I killed him with a hammer. And then, and so you have this moment of doubt.
And they do arrest somebody. We hear that they did arrest somebody for it.
Right, and then everybody finds out, and they're like, that was a really cruel prank you played, Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
you need to,
because you would say that. That's a fucked up thing to say. if you
Right.
just in any situation.
And so they invite the himbo over, and then they have like a lunch or like an early dinner. It's like daytime.
Yeah, it's
And
daytime every time
like,
they're eating dinner.
It's weird because it was like this was something Hannah pointed out to me too. The music is really inappropriate as well in this movie. Did you notice?
I didn't even notice the music.
Whenever they put on music, it's like the wrong music for the scene. So they're like they put on like salsa music for dinner. It's like what the fuck is happening?
Well, she's dancing with her friend in that scene.
It's fine. It's fine. And it might be intentional to just kind of make everything feel off. I don't know.
I do think
so they're having day dinner.
Yeah.
And I just remember because they turned to the girl. They're like, "It's time for you to go to bed." And the little girl's like, "Okay." And if I was that little girl, I'd be like, "The fucking sun's out."
Well, if you're like
No.
she's like little, she's like 6, 7, so you go to bed at like 7, 8 o'clock, and it could still be light out. Also, I think there could be. I don't want to do any work for this movie, but there could be a tiny bit of intent behind that because every time we see Ana de Armas, she's drinking, and it's almost always daytime when she starts. So I think there's an idea there of showing us kind of their disordered lifestyle where they're like eating kind of whenever, and because he's like a retired tech billionaire.
Yeah, he designed. They talk about this a lot, and it never felt like it mattered that much. Much like I guess
a little bit. I think it's about him excusing his actions.
Right. It's also the snails. I assume is supposed to represent how like he's very slow.
Well, I think
like he's very methodical. You know, like there's I don't know.
There's also a captive aspect of it. Like he's just keeping them, and he's very emphatic. Like the snails are not for eating.
Right. It's possessive.
It's possessive, but there's an additional
it's just funny that
wrinkle of how the snails are poisonous. So we think that's for sure going to be a thing, and we even see he's got a box full of empty snail shells, like full of empty snail shells in his car. So we're like, oh, he has been harvesting those snails to make poison. But that that never comes up again.
No. So I feel like the snails just represented the fact that he's slow and doesn't do much.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got from it.
He's very slimy. He's got antenna. Ben Affleck famously has antenna.
Yeah. So he designed a chip for drones, and people call him out of like those drones are used to kill people, and he's like, "Well, I just designed the chip. The drones could be used for whatever." And it's like, "Sure, man."
And that is a perfect distillation of tech bro culture.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. It's very amoral.
And so and so he's rich. They have this himbo over, and then like after dinner, he says again like, "Are you gonna apologize for like saying you killed that guy?" And he's like, "Why? I killed him."
Why would I apologize? I totally killed him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, your Uber's here," and he's like, "I didn't call Uber," and he's like, "Yeah, I called you one. Time to go." And the himbo, he gets an out, and he takes the out. Good for him. Bless his heart.
Honestly, if you stay after that, you're asking to get dismembered with a hacksaw.
Right. He goes on, the himbo presumably goes on to have a small role in True Romance before, making his mark in like Legends of the Fall.
Yeah, probably.
Because he looks like Brad Pitt.
A little bit.
Is my point.
A little bit.
And so that's the first himbo, or that's technically the second himbo.
Technically the second himbo that we know about.
And then there's the piano himbo,
piano guy,
which is a beautiful, where he finds that the wife has spent $3,000 for piano lessons. So he does a little Batman work. Mm-hmm. He tracks down the guy, and he like watches him play, and it's like, oh, this guy is doomed.
Yeah, he is. So much of this movie is Affleck just lurking like a fucking shark.
Yeah. Again, just frowning and watching himbos from afar.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right, is that like this, they have a party where he plays piano for everybody, and like throughout this there's like various moments of like where she like goes to blow him in the car and then bites him because he's like the other bit is that he's like he dances with another woman at a party, and she is like a monster about it.
Yeah.
So like she basically, the idea is she's flirty and sleeps around, but if he does anything, she's like a monster to him.
Mm.
And so then they're partying. They're all in the pool. It starts raining, which for some reason they treat like it's lava. Everybody is just like, oh my God, the rain. And I was thinking, like, that's the best time to be in a pool.
When I was a kid, I don't know how much truth there is to this. But when I was a kid, every time it started raining at like my grandma's pool or whatever, and also when it rains at the public pool, they make you get out because apparently you can get struck by lightning.
I was about to say lightning is an issue, but that's not that was just rain.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
were being real hyperbolic about that rain.
If they made like thunder and lightning sounds, I would have totally understood.
Yeah, but there wasn't. It was just it was just like a quick downpour.
Yeah. So everybody gets out except for Ben Affleck and the piano himbo.
He's just glaring at piano himbo. Like,
yep.
What one thing I genuinely love about this movie is, with the exception of the very last guy, poor doomed himbo Tony, who still does this to his own ruin. They fail to recognize so many warning signs, so many danger signs. Like, why on earth would you come to this woman's house and be basically fucking in front of her husband and all of their friends, and her husband is this grizzled son of a bitch just glaring at you like a demon, like a craggy demon from across the room.
Doesn't one of the himbos like talk to him like, "Hey man, thanks for letting me sleep with your wife"?
Yeah,
like,
it's the first himbo. Yeah. It's the himbo who escapes with his life. Who says that to him? He's like, "You're being really cool." He's like, "Yeah, anyway, I murdered the last guy." What do you think about that?
Yeah. Incredible.
Like, if you're,
and so
like I say that just to illustrate the fact that everybody has left the pool except for piano himbo and Ben Affleck, and it's like, if you're piano himbo, why on earth would you stay in the pool with Ben Affleck?
You might as well be in the pool with Jason Voorhees.
Yes,
like it's Ben Affleck staring at this himbo.
He's just staring at him.
and then they show the so there's this other character, this screenwriter who
who is a screenwriter. That's Tracy Letts.
That's funny.
He wrote I think he's also a playwright. I think his most notable thing was Killer Joe. He wrote the play for that, and also like the screenplay adaptation. He did the adaptation for Woman in the Window, which he's talked about very candidly.
Incredible.
So yeah, he is actually a writer. So yeah, anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because what you do? And he's like, I'm a writer. I write. He's a novelist, I think, right? He said he writes some screenwriting. Yeah. Whenever a screenwriter shows up in a movie, it's like, oh, fuck, here we go.
Well, it actually kind of ties into his... They use that to sort of explain what he does, because he doesn't...
Yes.
We learn eventually that he's on to Ben Affleck because he wants to get a book out of it.
Right. Well, he's on to Ben Affleck.
He's on to Ben
and
Affleck,
wants to get a book out of it.
In the thrilling bike car chase that ends
wait
this
till
movie.
We talk about that.
Holy fucking Christ!
That was one of the worst things I've seen.
I don't know why you're saying worst, Dave. I truly don't.
All right, but yeah,
he literally says aloud, "This is a book," to like himself as he's speeding away from Ben Affleck.
His big hit was based off his screenplay was based off a true story about a writer who uncovered like a
small
scandal.
Town conspiracy.
Yeah. So it's clear that this is his thing.
This is what he does.
But he walks out on the balcony to see Ben Affleck and this guy. He doesn't witness the murder. He just clearly sees, those two are alone.
Yeah.
And then he walks back inside. The party continues, and then someone finds the himbo floating in the water.
Yep.
And then that's when, Ana de Armas is like, they call the cops first, and then she's like, he killed him. And then the screenwriter's like, I would also like to talk to the cops, please.
Yeah.
Like, he clearly killed them. He was in the pool alone with them last scene, and then the guy was floating.
Yeah.
Face down. And then, like you said, the cops are just like, huh. And then they're out of the movie. They're gone.
We never see them again.
Never see him again.
We never see them again. Ben Affleck does say something that is true in the very next scene, or not in the very next scene, but there's a later scene where he invites Tracy Letts and his wife, who he's kind of possibly circling. Like they drop a hint that maybe
he's looking to ship.
Yeah, he might have a fling with this lady, and she's also kind of like, she's on his side. She's on Affleck's side. But anyway, They have them over for dinner, and he's got a scene with Tracy Letts in his snail barn. and they're being real candid about it, and Ben Affleck's being very obviously I am the murderer about it. It's like he's behaving like the killer in Dial M for Murder, or like actually more like Strangers on the Train, where he's being like real. No, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up all my Hitchcocks. He's mostly behaving like the lead killer in Rope, where he's like he's kind of like quietly smug about it, but it's like very, very obviously guilty.
Yes.
And he points out like Tracy Letts is like, well, how do you explain how he drowned in the pool? How does that happen? And Ben Affleck points out, and this is true, and it's the fact that people forget about, is that thousands of people drown accidentally in swimming pools every year. It's like the biggest cause of accident in the home is a pool and a gun.
Right, and the idea is the man was drinking.
Yeah,
so like
they were all drinking. They were all
meant to
drinking and getting
that,
high all night.
Yeah, you're meant to believe that the cops just sort of conclude that, but you'd think they would have an investigation.
If his wife is literally screaming in front of them that her husband killed this guy, and then they have another person from the party who's like, yeah, I think he killed him, you'd think they'd look a little bit harder at Ben Affleck.
A little bit, but they don't. They don't at all.
We never see them again.
And this is the point where I started laughing, because so piano teacher's dead. And then it like immediately he's like sees her get into like a car with a guy or something, and he's frowning, and I just couldn't. I lost
that
it.
Murder frown.
It was like, I can't fucking believe this is still happening.
Just moves on.
Yeah, everybody moves on. He just gets angry again.
Yep.
With this old friend, these ex, is what we learn, and then Ben Affleck is like, hey, buddy, I want to show you something out in the woods.
Yeah, and this is another, like, I almost excused this dude earlier, but truly I don't need to, because he does just get into Ben Affleck's Range Rover and ride with him out to this gorge in the woods, miles away from civilization, where there's no cell phone reception. It's like, buddy, you're just walking into the mouth of the lion right now. Like, what are you doing?
It's like taking a golden lab into the woods to shoot it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just sitting there like, where are we going, buddy? What's going on?
Right. It's
Ben
like
Affleck has just got this fucking grizzled frown the whole ride.
It's like a trail of candy into an alligator's mouth.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's the funniest thing, because at this point it's like, okay, man, this is your fourth himbo. Yeah. Like,
he is planting himbos.
Yeah.
He is putting some himbos in the earth. In this film.
Fucking funny. Then he kills him in the oddest way, in my opinion. He throws. Well, he like gets his attention and hurls a rock at his head.
Yeah,
and I thought that was the weirdest way to. Like, you bash him with a rock, right? You bash him with the rock.
Well, he did the follow-up move is the rock bash.
Because the follow-up move is he throws a bigger rock, hits him in the chest, and he falls and down a hill and hits his head and dies.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that's what was so awkward to me, is like, it was the least cinematic way to do it, is he picks up a big rock and you're like, oh shit, he's going to bash him from behind. And then he throws the rock at him from like 7 feet away.
Here's what I'll say. He's trying not to get blood on him.
No, it's a good, I guess it's smart, but in terms of like, well, here's the thing. You're right. And then what you don't do is go back the next day and poke him with a stick then.
Yeah. Or he goes back the next day with his family for a picnic.
Right.
And then the day after to poke him with a stick because he's floated to the surface.
Here's another thing you don't do. You don't use your own belt to tie the corpse and put it in water. He uses his own belt. And it was like, well, this is dumb. Like, he's not a good murderer.
No,
that's the thing. So, like, he throws the rock, and it just felt awkward, and then he throws the second rock. He goes tumbling down the hill, smashes his head on a rock, and it was like, that was kind of silly. And then he drags the motherfucker into the water. He takes his own belt and ties a rock to the guy and puts him in, like, a stream. Where it's like, despite the movie's title, it is not deep water. He puts him in.
He puts him in before it like drops off into a deeper section of the river. It's like, man, just send him down river a little bit. What are you doing?
Yeah, you weird dipshit. And then he goes home, and his wife is like, I think we're gonna go to the gorge today.
Yep.
Which is the same place he killed him. Mm-hmm. So he has to go back. with his wife, and that's when he doesn't get the Wheezy hand job. His daughter almost sees the body. They leave, and then she's like, I forgot my scarf. It's just, this is such weird storytelling.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It's really weird. So he goes back the next day to get her scarf. He has told her that he's going back the next morning to get her scarf.
Right.
And then,
this is his third time.
So he goes back and is trying to push the body down, and then Tracy Letts shows up with the scarf. So it's like,
what is Tracy Letts doing?
I don't know. But the implication is that she called him and told him to go get her scarf, or at least told him that Affleck was going there. We don't see why he's there. He's just there and has already retrieved the scarf.
Yeah, he says it was in the grass. It was very funny because, again, this motherfucker...
He just springs up every time Affleck's in the middle of a murder.
Yeah. And he's just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing in that brook? And it's really awkward. And then the body kind of bobs up, and Tracy Letts just fucking runs for it.
Which is what you do.
Gets in his car. Gets in his car and decides that while he's driving, he has to make a text message.
I feel like this is a phone call situation.
Yes, or just a get away first, then deal, like just drive to the cops. Do whatever. But he's driving down this dirt road and he's like obsessively trying to make a text, even though it's like fumbling. Ben Affleck gets on his stupid bike and starts like bike riding through the woods to catch up.
This chase scene is so great, Dave.
It's
great. So incredible. It's such a perfect
nobody
way.
Nobody acts like a human.
No, it's such a perfect way to cap off this slow, boring movie with this suddenly explosive back road SUV bicycle chase with Tracy Letts frantically trying to text his wife, I was right, you were wrong, LOL.
Right. That is what he's trying to text is I was right to his wife.
Yes.
And you think it's like, call 911. Why are you desperately trying to text to your wife that you were right?
You could argue that that's the character he is. You could make that argument.
You could, but it's very stupid.
It's a big stretch. It's like, boy, he'd have to be prideful to the point of self-destructive stupidity, which is a fault many people have. That's fair.
Yeah. But it's cartoonish.
It's cartoonish, yeah.
It's one of those weird, frustrating moments. It's like in a horror movie where a character does something that's just so wildly
like,
dumb.
Why the fuck are you doing that, man?
Yeah,
just
and it's
both
the
hands
only
on the
reason
wheel, both eyes on the road. There is no way he can catch you. He's on a bike. Just drive to the police. Just do 30.
Have to get away.
Just do 30. You don't need to be doing 60 down these backwoods with one hand on the wheel as you're trying to text, man. Just do 30. He will never catch you.
Yeah. But instead he acts like a fucking alien.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck gets on his bike, cuts through the woods, and catches up. And by catches up, I say crashes in front of his car.
Yep.
And instead of just running Ben Affleck over, which is what I would have done, I guess you could argue he didn't know it was Ben Affleck. He just saw something in front of his car. Tracy Letts swerves, just fucking rockets off the gorge.
It is
and
a
dies.
Spectacular car crash.
It is.
At the end of this boring ass anti-sexy erotic thriller, it's car
where all the budget went.
Just goes pinwheeling through the sky. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And it smashes into the quarry and then hits the water.
Yeah.
So he is definitely dead.
Like driver's side submerged. He is dead beyond belief.
Yeah. And then Ben Affleck rides home.
Yeah, he just rides home. Honestly.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
that's probably what I'd do.
That's what you do. Meanwhile, Ana de Armas is goes into his snail shed. It's a shed. It's a snail shed.
He's got a little shed, yeah.
And she finds the fucking wallet from the guy he killed with the rocks. He took his wallet. I don't know why, A, he took his wallet. B...
So he's never identified.
Yeah, but, I mean, fingerprints and, like, teeth.
Not if the body is dissolved. Yeah, teeth, for sure. But,
It just... I don't know. It's silly. If you do take his wallet, then, why put it in... Is the idea that the snails are going to eat the wallet?
It seems
with
to
the
be,
idea and shit in it?
That seemed to be what they were telling us because the snails were on it and it had little snail goo. It was like it looked like it was partially dissolved or masticated. So I thought they were trying to communicate that the snails would eventually reduce this to nothing.
Sure,
I don't know if
like
that's
a
true.
month.
Yeah, it will take forever. It's a stupid thing to do. Even if snails will eat it, it's dumb.
Right, it's the sort of thing you have to tell the audience.
Yeah.
Like, you need a scene where he's like, did you know snails can strip a whatever to the bone in 5 minutes? Like, we need to know that snails would do this, because otherwise it's just a wallet covered in snails.
Right, the only thing they tell us about snails is that they're poisonous if you don't starve them before you eat them, and then that never comes back. That is not important.
And then that never comes back.
Yeah. It's the only thing they ever tell us about snails.
Yeah, so she finds this snail-covered wallet with the guy's ID in it, and he didn't even you'd think you'd take it apart or something.
Yeah.
So when he gets home,
at least shred his ID or something. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
You're such a bad murderer.
He's such a bad murderer. And he comes home and looks at her looking at him and is like, "What?" And she doesn't say anything.
No, she says, "I found Tony," I think.
Oh, yeah. And Tony's the dead guy. And then it cuts to the ID being burnt. Mm-hmm. Presumably by her.
We see her standing over it. She is burning it.
Yeah. Because, she's like, my idiot husband thought snails would do it. I'm going to burn it. And then it fades to black, and you think that's the end of the movie. But then it gives us a mid-credits sequence of their daughter in the back seat singing.
Oh, I missed the mid-credits sequence.
That's it. I just described it. You know when the daughter's in the backseat singing that song earlier in the movie?
Yes.
They decided that was so good that after the movie fades out, they fade back in and do more of that over the credits.
That's nice that they gave us that little sting to go home with.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
Don't know why you'd do that.
Yeah, it's just like,
That is out of tone with the movie.
Right. It's completely out of tone. It's the weirdest fucking thing to do at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like if they did a blooper reel.
Yeah.
Like it'd be the equivalent. Yeah. And it was just
they do a blooper reel set to American Idiot or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the movie ends and it was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. It's like if it had ended with Semi-Charmed Life. Like that's how jarring that would have been. There is one other moment of this. I mean, God, there's so much, but there's one other moment of this film I definitely want to talk about. And it's in the scene where I can't remember. It's one of the next day, the morning. It's one of the morning after scenes where Ana de Armas is coming home after getting absolutely obliterated the night before and is making herself a sandwich in the kitchen. And I'm very curious to know whether or not you flagged this as well. She puts a fucking ghastly amount of mayonnaise on her sandwich. She scoops out. It's like an ice cream scoop. It looks like a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And she just slaps that shit on her bread.
The movie is filled with that shit. It's like this movie was made for people to make fun of in podcasts. Like that's
why would you have that much It's like the Undercover Brother gag. She's just fucking drenching this sandwich in mayonnaise.
Is it for her daughter? Is it to show that she's a shitty mom? Oh my God.
There's no indication it's for her daughter. We never see her do anything for her daughter.
These people are just maniacs.
Yeah.
They remind me of you ever it's weird comparisons. You ever work for a husband and wife and I've done jobs where you kind of Oh really?
No, I've never done that.
Being a video editor, I've had a few bits where you're working for filmmakers and they work out of their home and they're couples and you're in I've spent a couple jobs where I've been just in a couple's house for a while, and depending on the couple, you do get these moments where you're like, are they gonna kill or fuck me? Where it's there's weird intensities between them. They're usually pretty rich because they can afford you, and it's weirdo kind of wealthy couples that have this weird intensity. That's what these two are. They're where you go into their house and it smells kind of weird and they're doing things that are a little off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are. They're the weirdo rich couple that you suspect, I bet they kill people. And they do. Yeah, and so like her just soaking a sandwich in mayo is perfect.
It's so good.
Perfect
it's
Maniac
so good.
stuff.
Just schlacking it on there.
Why did he have his
fucking
two like
felonious amount of mayonnaise?
It's incredible. Why did remember the two funny friends?
Yeah.
What was their
Lil
deal?
Rel and Dash Mihawk from Punisher Warzone.
Oh, what was their purpose? Was it just flavor?
I think just flavor, just to show that he does have a life outside of his wife, and that I think it's mostly to illustrate that everybody knows that Ana de Armas is fucking around.
They also felt like the chorus. Yeah, they were like the people who would be like, "So here's what's happening," and like sort of recap. Oh my god, this movie is fucking wild,
fucking incredible, Dave.
It's suddenly
that
out
car
of its
crash.
mind. That ending scene is one of the sloppiest, sweatiest things I've seen
breathtaking
in a movie.
I exclaimed, Dave.
Yeah.
When that car just flips through the air into the canyon, God, that was bitchin'.
It's a movie where in order for the entire movie to happen, not a single person can act like a human being.
No, everybody's a fucking Martian. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's so amazing. Everybody from the cops to Ben Affleck, are just weird maniacs.
Just a bunch of mutants.
Amazing. Why? So I guess my question is, did the world change, or because he didn't do so? Fatal Attraction isn't the one I'm thinking of. What's the one I'm thinking of, Tom?
Indecent Proposal.
Nope. Michael Douglas.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't.
Gonna need a little bit more.
God damn it! Fuck. This is gonna kill me. Basic Instinct.
Okay.
Which I know is not this director.
Not this director. That is, it's Paul Verhoeven and shit.
I've watched that fairly recently. Paul Verhoeven is kind of what does it for me, where it's like, okay, it's Paul Verhoeven.
That's a movie
where Michael Douglas.
Paul Verhoeven.
It really, yes.
Yeah.
That kind of what I was getting at. Because if you go back and watch Basic Instinct, which most people haven't, you might not remember that Michael Douglas is a maniac in that.
Oh yeah, he's
a
piece of shit in that movie.
Well, not even that. There's those moments where, like, for example, when he's following Sharon Stone and he's driving like an absolute maniac.
Yeah.
Like down the PCH. And it doesn't mean anything, or rather it's like just like an aside almost.
Yeah.
Where you're like, what the fuck is this? Where like you forget that these old movies do have these moments where you're like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah. And Verhoeven has that additional element of he's usually operating within a heightened reality.
Yes. And he doesn't take himself that seriously,
right.
so his movies
and then there's like
will be like silly at times.
And like Basic Instinct is a noir, so it's like leaning into like the grizzled gumshoe elements of that.
And I guess what I'm saying is that a lot of these old films do have those like what the fuck moments.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is the kind of movie that you separate this movie by like 20 years, people are going to fucking love it. Because they're going to be like, what the fuck
what
is this?
happening? Yeah, it's Craig T. Nelson doing push-ups on his bed while smoking weed in Poltergeist.
Exactly.
It's like, what the fuck is this?
Why did we decide
what
this?
What human man would do this?
Yeah. There's a lot of that in this. And so part of me says, like, this is going to be a classic. A classic shit film. Yeah,
it might be. It was like I said, it's boring. It's not. It's about as sexy as a dead fish. But it was. I was just entertained the entire time.
Yeah, if you're a connoisseur of like bafflingly bad movies, this is definitely one. But yes. It's dull. It's dull, and it's not though, because again, every time they cut to, you're right. Not a lot happens.
It depends on how funny Ben Affleck lurking back like a shark is to you.
Yes, and I found it very funny.
And it's very funny to me. Ben Affleck bullying himbos is extremely funny to me.
Yes, 60% of the movie is Ben Affleck in a room squinting at a himbo. Just bullying them, just pushing them around. 10% is batshit wild murder or death scenes. And then the other percent is, I guess, a child or sex scenes.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, but like weirdly brief and weirdly brief and chaste sex scenes.
When they had sex, did she say "kiss my butt"?
Yes.
Yeah. And like, I don't mean that as like a Bart Simpson line. Like it's an instruction, and then he does it,
And he obliges. Yes.
Yeah, and
He
it's
gets
like
in
supposed to be. It's supposed to be like passionate. She doesn't.
And boy, it's not.
It's not. And I've never heard it phrased with "kiss my butt."
And he just buries his face in her ass. Incredible.
Yeah. This
movie is a delight.
incredible.
It is very, very bad, and I don't recommend you watch it, but also it's a delight.
Yeah. I think you know who you are. If you're listening to us and you're like, I have to watch that.
Then yes. If you're listening to us and you're being like, oh, glad I didn't watch that, then yeah, you should not watch this movie. You will not enjoy it.
Yeah. It's
Oh my God.
what a film. What a film.
Fucking hell.
2 hours long.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Jesus fucking Christ.
I appreciate it coming in under 2 hours though, but
Yeah, it's an hour 55 according to
yeah,
IMDb.
but a very long credit sequence. I remember the credits coming on with like 7 or 8 minutes left. So I was like, oh,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I mean, I have more to say about this film, but
Right, but I don't have
I think
all
it's
day.
just
I've got other things I need to do.
it's also just like repeating the things
Yeah.
over and over again in disbelief.
Just for emphasis.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Wild film.
Just an incredible piece of filmmaking. All around. Everybody should be very proud.
Yes. That really, like, they're making history here, I think.
Yeah.
Also, this is this filmmaker's first movie in 20 years.
Yeah.
Unfaithful was the last thing. Richard Gere, which I haven't seen.
Richard Gere,
and I
Diane
need
Lane.
to. Yeah, is this guy okay? Like, has anybody
just
checked
the
in on
movies
his
they
wife?
make. I don't know.
Well, half of his movies are about how women are terrible.
That's true.
Yeah, like, does he have a wife? Do we know if she's okay?
I think
Did she mysteriously disappear at some point?
I do believe Unfaithful Diane Lane is the sympathetic character in that.
Okay.
Because
So,
like when you cast Michael, it's like casting Ben Affleck as the husband in a movie. Where you're like, oh, I bet he's a fucking murderer.
I'm still worried about this guy's marriage.
That's
though,
fair.
Right?
That's fair. Yeah.
And then he did Lolita. So it's like, Jesus Christ. No, we talked about this in Hypecast. If Ben Affleck wants to be the next Richard Gere / Michael Douglas, we should let him. Right?
Yeah. I don't see anybody
Like,
standing in his way for that.
Yeah, what else does he have to do? Like, I want 20 more movies about Ben Affleck having trouble with the old wife, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And just various versions of that. Just remake the other movies. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. That's all we need.
Yeah.
Nine and a half weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck it. God, yeah, he also did 9.5 weeks.
He sure did.
Oh, sexy thrillers.
Yeah. This one was a bit of a letdown in that department, but
No, it was not that. Again, barely a hand job.
yeah, just the ghost of a hand job.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody! Thanks for listening. That's one. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Second thing is we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, there's some exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Spiel Boys, Star Trek The Next Futurama. For $10 a month, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. Last Friday, we watched Cuffs and Gleaming the Cube. And let's be honest, this will probably come up at some point.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah. How could it not?
We have to watch this and another erotic thriller, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, check us out.
Yeah, you can come watch erotic thrillers with us.
Yeah, you can.
We also
get horny. Get horny with us.
Get all hort. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Yeah, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And watch this movie.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, I'm not going to recommend it unless you know who you are. You know who you are.
Yeah, we've been through this.
Yeah,
you know who you are.
We've already been over this.
You're already ashamed.
If you keep snails, this is the movie for you.
Yeah. For all you snail... I kept snails,
snail heads.
Tom.
Huh?
I had a snail aquarium.
Sure you did. Of course you did.
Yeah, I seriously did.
No,
They're
I believe
awful. They don't do anything.
No, of course, they're snails, Dave.
Yeah.
They're snails. I don't know why you entered into that hobby expecting something different.
I needed to get rid of some wallets.
Listen, I was trying to disappear some himbos.
Mm-hmm.
So I got really into snail keeping.
What the fuck?
They do produce honey. It's by no means edible.
Really?
No.
Oh.
It was a joke, Dave.